It began on an otherwise uneventful Tuesday morning, the kind where everything seems in place, until slowly reality starts to fray at the edges. My wife, Laura, had flown out the night before for a quick business trip to Charlotte. Her job in client relations with a regional textile firm often took her away for a couple of nights at a time. In her absence, I held down the fort, managing the kids, prepping meals, tidying up, keeping the wheels turning at home. It was a life we'd built over 14 years of marriage, a rhythm so familiar it felt like second nature. But something about that morning struck a different chord. While reaching into her nightstand to grab an extra phone charger, I spotted the corner of a folded receipt poking out from underneath a pile of receipts and loose papers. Curious, I pulled it free. It was from a local jewelry store, dated just 2 days prior. The amount on it stood out immediately, far too significant to ignore. Jewelry wasn't rare in our marriage, but this one hadn't been for me. No recent birthdays, no anniversaries on the horizon. My pulse quickened. Something didn't sit right. And as it turned out, this was only the beginning. You might think I was jumping to conclusions. I hoped I was. But what I stumbled upon next shattered the fragile certainty I still clung to. That afternoon, while sorting laundry, I checked the pockets of one of Laura's blouses. From one of them, a small slip of paper fluttered to the floor. I picked it up, thinking it might be a receipt or a grocery list. But no, it was a note written in unmistakably unfamiliar handwriting. "Thank you for last night. I've missed this." My hands froze around it. My breath caught. I sat down on the edge of the bed, the paper trembling in my grip. Was this some kind of joke? A misunderstanding? But deep down, I already knew. My wife had been with someone else. That night, sleep was impossible. Every memory, every late-night return, every moment she glanced quickly at her phone, they all replayed in my mind with new, unbearable meaning. I was drowning in doubt, yet clinging to a need for the truth. The next day, in quiet defiance of the man I believed myself to be, I crossed the line. I installed a tracking app on her phone. The guilt was instant, like carving shame into my own skin, but I couldn't stand the not knowing. That evening, she said she'd be having dinner with clients. Yet the tracker showed her parked at a residential address, some 20 minutes away from her hotel. She stayed there for more than 3 hours. That was enough. The following morning, I hired a private investigator. I gave him her travel details, the hotel she'd checked into, and the unfamiliar address from the tracker. He promised to be discreet. The days that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I played the part of a father on autopilot, smiling through brokenness. I helped our daughter glue solar panels onto a cardboard box for her science project. I stirred past her. I kissed Laura goodnight, even as my eyes avoided hers. The weight of silence became unbearable. Knowing the truth lived just beyond reach was worse than any lie. 4 days later, the investigator's report arrived in a sealed envelope. I opened it alone in my study, hands slick with sweat. The first photo struck like a hammer to the chest. Laura walking arm in arm with a man outside a dimly lit staircase. The second left no room for doubt. The two of them, locked in a kiss behind a parked car. The timestamp read 9:48 p.m. The exact moment she texted me. Heading to bed. Long day. That's when the truth hit like a wrecking ball. My wife was unfaithful. And in that instant, it felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. Every shared laugh, every holiday memory, every conversation about our future, it all crumbled, like watching a building collapse in slow motion. But the affair itself wasn't the most painful part. It was a web of lies, threaded through the fabric of our daily life, that truly broke me. I confronted her the next morning. At first, she denied everything. Then the tears came. She pleaded, said it had been a moment of weakness. She blamed loneliness, said I had grown distant. She pointed to the pressures of work, routine, exhaustion. But I wasn't there to hear excuses. I wanted truth. When I told her I had evidence, she stopped talking. Her face drained of color. After a long silence, she finally whispered, "It only happened once." But it hadn't. The private investigator's report painted a different picture, multiple encounters, and more than one man. This wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. This was a repeated choice, a secret life. And suddenly, I was at a crossroads. Do I walk away from everything we built, or do I stay, for the sake of the children, for the sake of the life we had once shared? People who betray always have a story to justify it. They call it passion, escape, a cry for help. But all I saw was betrayal. That week, I met with a divorce attorney. He explained I could file under irreconcilable differences. Given that I was a primary caregiver, he assured me I'd have a strong claim to custody. I didn't want to take the kids from their mother, but I couldn't let them grow up in a household founded on deception. Oddly enough, signing the papers wasn't the hardest part. It was hearing my daughter ask, "Why has Mom been crying so much lately?" A week later, I handed Laura the divorce documents. She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She knew. 2 days later, she moved out. In the stillness that followed, one question echoed through my mind. Was I not enough? But that question is a trap. Because the truth is, it was never about me. It was about the choices she made, the deceit, the betrayal, the distance she created with every lie. When someone betrays you, your heart doesn't break just once. It breaks twice. First, for the love you've lost, and again, for the version of yourself that had believed in it. Weeks went by. I started picking up the pieces. I joined a local support group for men dealing with infidelity. I was stunned by how many of us there were. Different faces, different stories, but the same pain. My wife cheated. I found out she was seeing someone else. My partner lied for years. I kept hearing echoes of my own life in their voices. I began focusing entirely on the kids. I started writing down my thoughts. I even took up running again, something I hadn't done since my 20s. And slowly, piece by piece, I began to forgive not her, but myself, for not noticing sooner, for waiting too long to act, for believing love alone could heal what had already rotted underneath. Eventually, the silence in the house stopped feeling so heavy. It started feeling like peace. Laura still calls occasionally. She asked to speak with the kids. I never stand in the way. But that old ache I used to feel when I heard her voice, it's gone. Now, all I feel is freedom. She once told me, I don't know why I did it. And I believe her. Sometimes even the ones who hurt you can't explain why. But not knowing why doesn't lessen the damage. When a spouse cheats, it's not just a relationship they destroy. It's the entire family they shatter. I'm sharing this now because I know someone out there is in the middle of their own storm. You're second-guessing yourself. You want to believe the best. You're afraid of what you'll find. But if your gut is telling you something's wrong, listen. You're not imagining it. You're not crazy. You're just beginning to see things clearly. And when the truth finally arrives, yes, it will hurt. But that pain will be the first step toward your freedom.